如果你在聆听时不需要频繁暂停，就能理解大意，那么你的英语积累在日常表达中是完全够用的。我们开始吧。
You never forget the moment you learn what trust really costs. People say the phrase "bite the hand that feeds you" like it's simple. But it wasn't born in a simple moment. It came from people who learned the hard way what happens when kindness meets hunger, and when loyalty breaks faster than a dry stick. The story begins in a small coastal town where fishermen woke before the sun. Their boats groaned against the dock. Their nets smelled like salt, mud, and old stories. Every morning, they carried buckets of scraps from the night's catch. They had a rule older than anyone could remember: share first, eat second. So they fed the stray dogs. These dogs were rough and thin. Ribs you could count. Eyes that followed every hand. But even in hunger, they waited for the fishermen. They wagged their tails. They stayed close. They watched every move like the whole world depended on it. And then came the dog people still talk about. A big brown mutt with a torn ear and a voice that barked like gravel. They called him Rough. No one knew where he came from. No one knew who lost him. But he showed up one rainy morning, cold and shaking, and the fishermen fed him like he had always been part of the place. Rough became the favorite. He followed the men to the docks. He guarded the boats at night. He slept by the market door. Kids pulled his tail. Old men scratched his neck. Everyone loved him because he never caused trouble. Until the morning he did. It happened fast. Too fast for anyone to say they saw the whole thing. A new fisherman, young, proud, still trying to earn a name, walked down to the docks with a bucket of scraps. He bent down. He held out his hand. Rough ran to him like he always did. But this time, something flashed in Rough's eyes. Hunger, fear, memory, no one could tell. He snapped. His teeth caught the man's hand. The bucket dropped. Scraps fell everywhere. The dogs scattered with the sound of claws on wood. The young fisherman shouted. Blood dripped into the sea. Rough backed away, shaking, tail tucked low. He looked like he didn't understand what he had done. Maybe he didn't. People ran over. Some blamed the man. Some blamed the dog. Everyone talked at once. But the oldest fisherman, the one nobody ignored, stepped between them. He wrapped the man's hand. He looked at Rough. His voice was quiet, like he was speaking to the water. That, he said, is what it means to bite the hand that feeds you. The dock went still. Even the waves felt silent. The phrase stuck. It traveled from the docks to the market. From the market to the next town. From the towns to the ships. and from the ships to places that never smelled the sea. Most people who say it now don't know about rough. They don't know about the bucket, or the torn ear, or the moment trust broke like a rope under too much weight. They think it's only a warning. But the old fisherman meant something deeper. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even surprised. He meant that trust is soft. Soft like a hand held out in kindness. Soft like a dog that forgets its fear until it remembers. And he meant that any one of us could be rough. Rough didn't run away. Not that day. Not the next. He stayed close to the docks like he wanted to fix what he had broken. But trust doesn't heal in a night. It doesn't heal just because you wish it would. The young fisherman avoided him. He wrapped his hand with a cloth so white it almost glowed. People whispered when he passed. Some said he should chase Rough away. Some said he should forgive him. But forgiveness is heavy. And the man was too young to carry something that big. Rough felt the change before anyone spoke it. Dogs know when people look at them with fear instead of warmth. He stopped running up to the men when they arrived. He waited by the posts. Tail low. Head lower. Like he was asking a question no one knew how to answer. Days passed. Fish came and went. Nets tore and were fixed. Storms rolled in and rolled out. Life moved forward, but something in the air stayed stuck. Then came the night everything almost broke for good. A thief crept into the docks. A quiet man with soft boots and a sharp eye. He had been watching the place for weeks. He knew when the guards slept. He knew which boats carried tools worth stealing. He moved like smoke. Like someone born to shadows. But Rough woke up. No one knows what he heard first, the footsteps, the breath, or the soft click of metal. But he stood. Hackles up. Teeth bared. The thief froze. He had counted everything except the dog. Rough barked so loud the sound bounced off every wall. Lights snapped on in the fishermen's huts. Doors flew open. Boots thundered down the boards. The thief panicked. He ran. Rough chased him, barking like fire. The dock came alive with shouts and flashlights. Nets swung. Someone grabbed the thief's coat. He fell hard and stopped fighting. And Rough stood there, breathing fast. As if waiting for someone to tell him he had done the right thing. The old fisherman reached him first. He knelt, placed a hand on Rough's head, and whispered something no one else heard. Maybe it was thanks. Maybe it was forgiveness. Maybe it was both. But the young fisherman came forward too. Bandaged hand. eyes tired but softer than before. He looked at Ruff like he was seeing the whole story again, from the beginning. "You protected us," he said quietly. Ruff didn't move. He didn't wag his tail. He just waited. The man reached out his injured hand, slowly this time, like offering peace. Ruff leaned forward. Nose touched skin. No fear. No snapping. Just a long, silent breath between them. And something old inside that moment finally let go. People around them didn't cheer, but they smiled. The kind of smile that says a weight has lifted. The old fisherman said, "A dog bites when it's scared. A dog guards when it remembers love." The town carried that sentence the way people carry stories that matter. And the phrase "bite the hand that feeds you" traveled even farther, but now with a shadow behind it, a reminder that every betrayal has a reason, and every reason has a story. Ruff stayed with the fisherman until he was old. His torn ear became a legend. Kids grew up hearing the tale of the snap and the night he saved the docks. Parents told their children, "Don't bite the hand that feeds you, but remember why someone might." The phrase wasn't a warning anymore. It was a mirror. And someday, the kids who watched Ruff would grow up and learn what it means to trust, to fear, to make mistakes, to forgive. They would learn that loyalty isn't simple. Neither is hunger. Neither is being human. Years passed, and the docks changed. New boats came with engines louder than the old wooden ones. New hands worked the nets. New stores opened along the shore. But people still told Ruff's story. They told it like a lesson carved into the tide. One summer evening, the docks glowed gold. The water was calm. The sky looked like a painting that forgot to dry. And a boy, no more than 12, sat at the edge with his feet hanging over the water. His name was Caleb. He was the kind of kid who listened more than he spoke, the kind who asked questions adults never saw coming. Caleb had grown up hearing the phrase from his parents. They used it when he argued. They used it when someone in town acted ungrateful. He knew the words, but not the weight behind them. So that evening, he walked to the oldest fisherman. The same man who had wrapped the young fisherman's hand years ago. His beard was white now. His back stooped. But his eyes were sharp as ever. "Tell me about Ruff," Caleb said. Kids didn't usually ask with that kind of honesty. It made the old man smile. He sat beside Caleb, boots dangling, the boards creaking under his weight. "You heard the stories," he said. Caleb nodded. But stories change in the mouths of people who didn't live them. Caleb leaned closer. "What really happened?" The old man took a slow breath, as if pulling the memory out of the sea. "Ruff was scared," he said. Not mean. Not wild. Scared. Before he came here, someone had hurt him. Someone who wanted loyalty without kindness. And a creature that knows pain will flinch at love. Caleb didn't speak. He let the words settle. When Ruff bit that hand, the man continued, he wasn't thinking. He remembered something that wasn't here. Something from before. And fear moves faster than thought. Caleb looked down at his shoes. Did everyone hate him after that? The old man shook his head. No. Some people did. Some didn't. Most were confused. Because it's easier to judge than to understand. A small splash sounded below them, maybe a fish jumping, maybe nothing. The old man pointed at the ripples. See that? One moment. One tiny moment. And it spreads. Caleb watched the ripples curve out in perfect circles. Trust works like that, the man said. And so does fear. A breeze moved across the water. A gull cried overhead. Caleb's voice felt smaller when he spoke again. So the phrase, it came from him. It came from all of us, the old man said. From what we learned watching Ruff. People like to use it as a warning. But they forget half the lesson. What's the other half? That sometimes the hand feeds you, and sometimes the hand forgets you're still healing. Caleb didn't respond right away. He had never heard adults talk like this. Simple words, but heavy. The old fisherman stood. His joints cracked like old wood. He looked at the boy with a quiet seriousness. Remember this, he said. If someone bites the hand that feeds them, ask what bit them first. Caleb carried those words home, turning them over like stones in his pocket. That night, lying in bed, he realized the story wasn't really about a dog. It was about people. About him. About anyone who's ever pushed away the very thing they needed. And that's when the phrase stopped sounding like a warning. It started sounding like a truth he'd spend the rest of his life figuring out. As Caleb grew older, the docks became a kind of classroom. Not the kind with chalkboards or desks. The kind where lessons come from mistakes, from storms. From people who don't always say things the right way but mean them with their whole heart. He worked summers carrying nets. He scrubbed decks. He learned the smell of engines, the weight of rope, the rhythm of tides. And every now and then, someone would say the phrase again, bite the hand that feeds you, and Caleb would pause, remembering the old fisherman's words. One evening, years after that talk by the water, Caleb found himself in the middle of his own test. It started with another stray. This one wasn't a dog. It was a boy. thin, dirty, clothes ripped at the sleeves, eyes sharp in a way that didn't fit his age. He showed up behind the storage sheds, rummaging through crates looking for something to eat. Caleb spotted him first. The kid froze, hands still in a box of old rope, like a wild thing ready to run. "You hungry?" Caleb asked. The boy didn't answer. His arms were tense, his jaw tight. He looked like someone who expected the world to hit him before it helped him. Caleb remembered that look. Ruff had worn it the first weeks he lived by the docks. He stepped closer, slow. No sudden moves. He set his lunch, half a sandwich, a few chips, on the edge of the crate. "You can take it," he said. "I'm not going to stop you." The boy hesitated. Then he grabbed the food so fast it almost fell apart. He backed away and ate like he didn't trust it to stay in his hands. Caleb sat on an overturned bucket, pretending not to stare, letting the kid have space, letting him breathe. Minutes passed. The sky turned a darker blue. The first stars showed up like little sparks. The kid finally spoke. "What do you want?" "Nothing," Caleb said. "Just making sure you're okay." The boy frowned at him like that answer didn't make sense. People don't always understand kindness the first time they meet it. Caleb asked his name. The boy didn't give it. He only said, "I don't trust people." And Caleb almost laughed, not to make fun of him, but because he understood it too well. "Yeah," he said. "Most of us don't. Not at first." They talked for a while. Nothing deep. Nothing heavy. Just enough for the boy to stay a little longer instead of running off into the alleys. When Caleb finally stood to leave, he said, "I'll be here tomorrow. If you want more food." The boy didn't answer. He just watched Caleb walk away with eyes that didn't blink. But the next day, he came back. And the next. And the next. Trust grows slow. Sometimes so slow you don't notice it until it's already there. Then one afternoon, it cracked. A fisherman saw the boy near the nets and shouted. He thought the kid was stealing. He grabbed the boy's arm. The boy panicked. He twisted, clawed, kicked, tried to bite his way out of the grip. Caleb ran over. The fisherman backed away, angry and confused. The boy was shaking all over, breath fast, eyes wild. Caleb knelt. He kept his hands low. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe." But the boy didn't hear him. Fear is louder than voices. In one sudden burst, The boy pushed Caleb and ran straight into a stack of crates, knocking them over with a crash that echoed across the docks. Tools fell. Lines snapped. A bucket rolled into the water. People rushed in, shouting. The boy bolted. Caleb stood there staring at the mess, heart pounding. He knew everyone saw it the same way. The kid bit the hand that fed him. But Caleb also knew the truth wasn't that simple. Not for Ruff. Not for him. Not for this boy either. And that night, sitting on the empty dock with the moon on the water, Caleb realized something he had never said out loud. Some people don't bite because they're ungrateful. They bite because no one has ever fed them gently. He didn't know it yet, but the phrase that started with Ruff was about to enter a new chapter, his chapter. Caleb didn't sleep that night. The image of the boy running, terrified, replayed in his mind like a tide that refused to go out. He kept hearing the crash of crates, the shouting, the panic in the boy's eyes. He kept hearing the old fisherman's voice too. Ask what bit them first. The next morning, Caleb walked the alleys behind the market. He checked the empty sheds. He looked under the old pier where kids sometimes hid when they didn't want to be found. But the boy was gone. Days passed. Then a week. People forgot about the scene at the docks. They said the boy was trouble. They said Caleb should be glad he wasn't coming back. It amazed Caleb how fast people could rewrite a story they never understood. He tried to let it go. But some stories don't leave you alone. They sit behind your ribs and wait. Then one late afternoon, as the sky faded into that calm blue that feels like a deep breath, Caleb saw a shape sitting at the end of the pier. A thin boy. Knees pulled up to his chest. Shoes half torn. The wind moving his hair like he belonged to it. Caleb walked over without making noise. He sat a few feet away, leaving space between them. Not too close. Not too far. The boy didn't look at him. But he said, "I broke your stuff." Caleb nodded. "Yeah. You did." A long silence. Waves tapping the wood. A gull crying somewhere far off. "You mad?" the boy asked. "A little," Caleb said honestly. "Doesn't mean I want you gone." The boy's eyes shifted, confused, like the words didn't fit any world he knew. "No one talks like that," he said. Caleb shrugged. "Then they should." Another pause. The boy looked at the water. "You shouldn't have tried to help me." People learn not to. Makes things easier. For who? For them. For me. Caleb shook his head. "That's not easier." That's just lonely." The boy didn't answer, but his shoulders dropped, just a little. Like he was letting a weight slide off, one he had gotten too used to carrying. Caleb took out a sandwich he'd packed. He didn't hand it over. He just set it between them. "You can eat it or not. No big deal." The boy stared at it for a long time. The wind blew. The boards creaked. Then he picked up the sandwich. He didn't snatch it this time. He took it slow. Trust grows in tiny, almost invisible steps. They ate together in silence. Then the boy said, "My name's Theo." Caleb smiled. "Good to finally know." Theo brushed crumbs from his hands. "You're not scared I'll snap again?" Caleb thought about Ruff. About the docks. About the old fisherman. About the phrase everyone used the wrong way. "Maybe you will," he said. "Maybe you won't. But I'm not here because I expect you to be perfect." Theo blinked like the words hit somewhere deep. "Why are you here then?" Caleb leaned back on his elbows, looking at the waves turning gold in the sunset. "Because someone once helped me understand that people don't bite kindness unless someone else taught them to." Theo swallowed hard. There was a shine in his eyes he tried to hide. "So, you're not giving up on me?" "No," Caleb said. "Not today. Not tomorrow. Not because of fear." A quiet breeze moved between them, carrying the smell of salt and the slow heartbeat of the sea. Theo whispered, "I don't know how to trust people." Caleb nodded. "Good thing you don't have to learn it all at once." The boy looked at him for the first time without flinching. And something shifted. Not big. Not dramatic. Just real. A small beginning. They sat there as the sun sank behind the docks. The water darkened. The first stars came alive. And Caleb realized this moment would shape the rest of his life, the same way Ruff's story shaped the old fisherman, in the same way the docks shaped everyone who ever worked there. The phrase lived on. But it wasn't just a warning anymore. It was a reminder. A reminder that trust can break. A reminder that kindness can scare people who never knew it before. A reminder that healing takes time and patience and hands that don't pull away when the world gets loud. That night, walking home under a sky full of scattered stars, Caleb understood the truth so clearly it felt like someone had carved it into his bones. Bite the hand that feeds you isn't about punishment. It's about understanding why someone ever learned to use their teeth. And maybe, just maybe, the only real way to change a story is to keep offering your hand, steady and kind, until someone finally realizes they don't have to bite anymore.
作为一个母语非英语的人，能把故事听完，你的进步太大了。感谢你收看这个节目。 如果你觉得这个节目对你有帮助，请给我一个点赞，或者留下评论，这对我很重要。我们下个视频见。